Hello again, all my subscribers, all the new people. Welcome to my little channel, as I call it, my little shack. But let's just call it the Love Shack, full of love. Okay, so last time we spoke, it was all about the Great Conjunction and what it could possibly mean. Is it the Christmas star? Is it the Bethlehem star? Is it the Great Conjunction? Is it the King planet representing Jesus moving in front of Saturn, which reminds you of when Jesus said, "Get behind me, Satan." Quite a connection there. But somebody pointed out to me in the comments, and look, I respect it. They said, listen, you said that Jupiter occludes Saturn, and I then was going over everything again after they said that to me, and yeah, I did say that it occludes, which means to cover. It covers Saturn. It's just because I was listening to somebody else was making a video about it, and they said that it was going to occlude. Now, at the time, I wasn't sure. Was it going to cover Saturn, or was it just going to sit right next to it and look like one giant star, which is what has been said. But I thought, wouldn't it be interesting also if it did cover Saturn? And it's still going on now, really, if you think about it. Which brings me to my next thing I want to talk about. There was another comment sent to me in the comments of, I think, my last video or the video before, and he said, look, if you really want to know what's going on up there about the Mazzaroth and what's going to happen, please take a look at this video if you bother to look, if you care to look. And I thought, you know, he deserves that. He deserves us to have a look at it, because sometimes you're trying to show people information and they just ignore it. They just couldn't care less. And you're like, no. It's probably like you're trying to tell someone about this now, and then their eyes start moving around the room and couldn't care less. They couldn't care less. And but if you're on my channel, you do find some significance in this, because we've seen that in 2017 the sign of Virgo and Jupiter moving around the womb, and how Leo impregnated her with a comet out of its groin. And I mean, only God could do this stuff. And I'll leave a link to that video I'm talking about, what's supposedly what's coming up, that is predicted to happen in the constellations with the moon, etc. But I'll get to that. I just want to talk about, I had a comment I saw this morning on I think my last video, or and he said, great conjunction, oh, he or she, I don't know who it was, great conjunction, LOL. This is as big of a non-event as the 2017 sign, and nothing came of it. Now, if you know anything, you know that things have happened since 2017. I think they're expecting the world to just go kabloom and explode or something. As I've discussed in past videos, how could they not mean anything? I mean, look at that sign in 2017. And I've spoken how just Jesus looks like, or Jupiter rather, looks like all the wounds of Jesus all over it. And it's called the King planet. And in the ancient days it was Zeus, which sounds like Jesus. Now, I'm not comparing Zeus to Jesus. I'm just saying, isn't that a weird connection there? So, fair enough. If you don't want to believe there's anything significant in this, and it's all just nonsense to you, then I honestly don't even know why you bother commenting. A normal person would just come on there, say, oh, I don't agree with it. They just, if they're a little bit bitter, they might give you a downvote and leave. Some people take the time to subscribe downvote you on every video and leave like nasty comments. I'm not offended. I just find it weird that this person's channel was supposedly all about Jesus, and I find it's astonishing to me that someone can go around making videos calling themselves a Christian and then using the wall of the internet to hide behind and bring out the knives. It's like, talk about beating your fellow servants before the Father has returned home, or the Master. I mean, how can you even call yourself a Christian at that stage? You know who I'm talking to. I'm not offended. I'm not even mad at you. I do expect that kind of thing, but I just find it surprising that they have a Christian channel, and I think the people that they act the most perfect and holy. Usually you find out they're just some of the nastiest people out there. They really are. I mean, look at the Pharisees. That's probably exactly what they were like. Thinking how holy they were and how fallen and disgusting you were. And didn't Jesus come to prove all those people wrong? Why are you going into that bar full of drunkards? And what did Jesus say? I've come to heal the sick. Not the people who think they don't need any help. When quite literally they were the fallen people. The ones who thought they were so holy and didn't need any more help from God, and they were so blessed. No, he went in to see the people with alcohol addictions and who'd given up on life and was so broken. That's where you found Christ. So anyway, so I'll leave a link to this this excellent video about how the moon represents the church, and it's moving through all these constellations, and one's a sea dragon and it represents a certain nation or system, if you like, and it's trying to eat the fish in Pisces, and one's going straight up and one's going sideways, and the one that's going straight up, it's accompanied by Aries, the ram. And then you've got Taurus, moves on to the next bit, and Taurus is going to punish this sea serpent, and Taurus represents Christ. What I'm finding interesting is in these new understandings is when Christ first came, he was referred to gentle as dove and a gentle as a lamb, and innocent creatures, you know, who are helpless and vulnerable and can easily be snatched up in the jaws of whatever. The fact that this time he's coming back, it's a lion, and a really annoyed lion, one that's looking for justice, and coming back as and the Pisces, the one going up, and that's accompanied by Aries. Aries is a ram, which is an adult male sheep. And the differences between a lamb and a ram. I mean, they even rhyme. The lamb is just so weak and innocent and vulnerable, only to be slaughtered or stolen away by a wolf or an eagle or something, a predator. And then this time it's a ram. You know, a ram is a male sheep, and it's if you've ever seen a ram in action, they're full of attitude and they don't take any nonsense, and they ram any other male in sight. But they're protective. But don't you find that interesting? It was a lamb, now it's a ram. It was a lamb, now it's a lion. And it's like he said, I'm not coming the second time to bring peace on earth. I'm bringing a sword. That's what he said, I'm bringing a sword. So I'll leave a link to that video. Check it out, guys. I'm sure you'll find that just as interesting as I did. Moving on to the next part, I want to talk about Mars. This is also mentioned in that video I just talked about. Mars, how I said it was related to a red dragon. Now, listen to these connections. I've always considered the red dragon of Revelation to be, if it was a nation, to be China. They believe they are the direct descendants of the dragon, a dragon. So if you look, if they were represented by a planet, you think about Mars. You know why Mars? It's red. You look up the significance of red in China. It's for weddings, it's for funerals, it's for joy, it's for happiness. Their flag is red. I had some Chinese students stay with me once, and he told me all about the significance of red, and he cut through all the nonsense. He goes, you know what it really means? And I said, what? He goes, blood. Means blood. So anyway, go back to Mars. NASA released a picture of Mars that, I don't know if it was photoshopped, how it worked, but there is a picture of a dragon on the surface of Mars with a crown on its head. Then you go back to the Chinese artwork, and it's the same dragon. It's like this, and then there's the head, and then it's got this little crown on it. Look it up, guys. I'll put a picture up here for you. So you see the crown on its head and the shape of it, and it's like, I've always wondered, how did the ancients know so much about the planets? You look at ancient Greece, ancient Rome, and Pluto. How did they know about Pluto? It was so far away to the naked eye, and somehow they knew the qualities of it. How did they... I can imagine the Chinese astronomers seeing a dragon on the surface of Mars. Possibly. Because they were very far advanced, the Chinese. They had earthquake machines that could detect earthquakes. They've got in their history recordings of a giant flood. They've got recordings of when the earth stood still. You know, Joshua, the book of Joshua, when the sun stood still in the sky, made the day really long. They've got records of that. They are not stupid in any way, shape or form. Don't ever think China is stupid, because they are not. They may be stupid in the sense that they're trying to bite off more than they can chew. I find that interesting. Middle Eastern mythology refers to a dragon as Leviathan, and they said it's going to rise up in the last days, and it's going to be an evil empire that's red, and it's going to rise up out of the sea. And you look at the Chinese Navy, and you look how they can make those islands out of nothing, and they're all made of sand. I mean, the connections are off the charts with that. Going to the next part. We weren't sure if this conjunction was going to happen in... Well, I wasn't, because it was on the edge of the two. I was looking on the star maps whether it was going to happen in Capricorn or in Aquarius. Now, some kind subscriber commented, no, it's happening in Capricorn. And I believe the next part to come is in Aquarius. And I've talked about in my last video the age of Aquarius, how the new age is just always banging on about the age of Aquarius. You know, through the hippie era, now still talking about the age of Aquarius to come. I believe that they think this new age, new world order, if you like, is the age of Aquarius, where, you know, get rid of all the annoying Christians. Thank God those aliens took them and stuff, you know. Now we're going to have all this to ourselves. I look at that seed vault. I think it's in Iceland, somewhere like that. And they store all the world's seeds. Oh, if there's ever any crisis, we can replenish the seed supply. I think, no, they want to get rid of the carbon footprint, which I spoke about. We're made up of carbon. And once all that's, we become fertilizer, they bring out all their seeds, because there's going to be so much destruction on the earth. Here they come with all their seeds, replenish the earth, yeah. Also find it interesting, Trump, etc. Pretty much both sides up there having a big squabble over the election. They're talking about this Space Force, Space Federation, a galactic federation of light. And I always wonder, like, oh, why don't they just get over and done with? Why don't they just bring on the aliens and all this? And it's almost as if they can't yet. And somebody said they've looked right into it, and they've come to the conclusion, oh, they're waiting for the rapture to happen. They're waiting for certain people to disappear before they can bring on the Galactic Federation and introduce the world to aliens, right? But it also makes me think of when 3 unclean spirits like frogs came out of the mouth of the dragon. Will China have something to do with aliens? You look at the depictions of aliens, and you have to admit that some of the illustrations of aliens are a lot like frogs, aren't they? In a way. You even look at Kermit the Frog, and there's a little bit of space alien in that, isn't there? You know, the big eyes, green. You know? Is that what those 3 unclean spirits, like frogs that come out of the mouth of the dragon, are? Interesting thought, isn't it? I went onto a couple of live streams of this conjunction happening in live time. You've got Jupiter and Saturn there. They look amazing, by the way, because it's, you know, it's not just zoomed in from someone's backyard. You can literally see close up of it. In the comments, I noticed if anyone was talking about Christ or anything like that, they were just absolutely mocked out of the section. And I was like, isn't a Christian just such an easy target? Because usually, like, they're an atheist, or, you know, they're into science or whatever, but you don't see them ever doing that to any other belief system. It's always anything to do, if they knew Christ like we do, I'm telling you, they would not open their mouths. They would not type anything. Like I said before, I mean, he's not coming back as a lamb. He's not coming back to bring peace to the earth. He's bringing a sword. He said it himself. He's not coming back as a lamb. He's coming back as a ram and a lion. And even depicted as the bull, Taurus, that's going to punish the sea serpent. I mean, if you understood, like, if I said to you to go into a bar, find the biggest, scariest, ugliest man and walk up to him and mock him in any way, shape, you wouldn't. We're talking about Christ here. Son of God, and he created everything. He's in charge of everything. Good, bad. Created that very person. I mean, how much that must hurt God in a way is when someone mocks him and he created them. They've looked at the moment of conception in the womb with cameras, etc. And they have seen when the sperm actually enters the egg, there's a little spark of light. I was talking in my last video how it's possible that they're counting the actual conception of Christ around this time of year, and that he was actually born in September. So the very people that he created are sitting there like all arrogantly saying that the stars mean nothing. All these things lining up. They never really looked into it properly. I think they're scared of it, to tell you the truth. They don't want it to be true. They don't want to be wrong. They just go, oh, that's star nonsense. I mean, we are pointed to the stars again and again and again and again in Scripture. Look at the symbolism of everything that we're finding out. Look at the symbolism of Jupiter. Look at the symbolism of Saturn. Symbolism of Mars. Speaking of everything up there, once I was doing this little study on the sun, the actual sun, and I was like, isn't it weird how you call that the sun, and then you call the Son of God the sun, and they talk about Jesus being the light of the world, etc. And it sounds so much like the sun. You know, the fiery in his anger. And I was like, I looked up, I just typed in, is God the sun? Is he literally the sun? And there was a lot of people that said, yes, that's exactly what he is. And I was like, wow, that's interesting, isn't it? And you look at the Catholic Church and everything, they have lots of imagery of the sun, the actual sun. But then when you read Genesis and the creation of everything, you find out, no, that's the sun. That's just the sun. It's not just the sun because it's so complex, because it's created by God, but the Son of God is not the sun. And God is not the sun. You know, the big bright thing in the sky, I mean. So that was an interesting thing I went through, but you know, came to the conclusion, no. You could easily get led down that path, that the actual sun is God. I want to talk about music for a second again, and how deceiving some music can be, especially in the mainstream pop world. There was a song brought out in the 90s by a man claiming to be godly. His name was Lenny Kravitz. You know, he had big long dreadlocks and he was cool, and he'd played, "Are you gonna go my way?" He brought out a song called Believe. It sounds so much like he is into God and Christ and the Bible. And there's a part in this song called Believe that he says, if you want it, you got it, you've just got to believe. And he also says how God is in our face, and just put your faith in God and someday you'll see. And then you're like, oh, that's nice, isn't it? He's actually singing about God and getting away with it in Hollywood. And then you listen to it more, but no. If you want it, this is the verse, the chorus. Sorry. If you want it, you got it. You just got to believe. Believe in yourself. And then he goes on to say, because it's all just a game. We just want to be loved. And then believe in yourself again. It's so satanic and deceiving. Just let me quickly go to the Pope again, the Catholic Church. I listened to something he said about this Christmas. He was talking about, the plague and all this, but he got onto talking about Christ. Listen to what came out of his mouth. The man who calls himself the Holy Father, the mediator between God and man. He says, quote, Jesus is small, poor, and helpless. Isn't that lovely? Also, you notice when he carries around the staff with the cross and Jesus on it, you notice that the depiction of Christ in the Catholic Church is always one of nearly skeletal on the cross, isn't he? He's nearly like rotted away on the cross. Don't you think they're parading around a dead Christ that never resurrected? Because in the Catholic Church they're always talking about Mary, which leads on to another thing, which is actually the Queen of Heaven, which is totally pagan. And if you talk to a Catholic, they'll get so offended if you bring anything to light about the Catholic. They'll stop the argument, they'll run away from it, but they just get really upset. They get really protective of the Mary statues and all the idols, which God calls dumb, by the way, because they can't think, hear, speak, smell. Yet they're giving all this imaginary power that they can do something. And mind you, I've seen some Gothic Catholic churches which are adorned with those gargoyles, and they're doing the most perverse sexual things to each other or to other people and stuff. It's just so disgusting. And the belief was, they'll scare away bad spirits. And I'm like, no, that'll invite them. That'll invite the bad spirits. They go, this is our kind of place. Yeah, woo. In we come. Anyway, so that'll do for now. Let's keep an eye on that conjunction. Don't let anyone tell you it doesn't mean anything. Look, people can comment on me and tell me I'm excited about nothing, it means nothing. You can do it all you like, guys. I won't be offended. I'm not going to stop looking at it. You don't like what we're talking about here, then all you have to do is go watch something else, or make a video of your interpretation of what's going on. Doesn't even have to include the stars. You tell me where we're at, and I'm willing to listen, because that's what I do. I love to listen. And so far, the things that I've listened to and have clicked with me and I've gotten on board with, they make sense. It makes the most sense I've ever listened to. And listen to Ministry Revealed. Great channel. Merry Christmas. Bless you all. And we shall meet someday. God bless, guys. See you soon.